Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is about 20 after 9 in the morning on the 12th of June, 2019. Video is from Morel, Prince Edward Island, in my backyard. We're here to talk about aquaponics again. Made some progress, wanted to do a quick update. Thanks for coming along. One sec, gonna use the silly strap just in case I drop this thing. I hope everyone's doing well. It's a beautiful day here, unexpectedly. The weather forecast for the week, when I was looking at it on Monday, had been rain starting Tuesday and wrapping up on Saturday, but here I am, Wednesday morning, beautiful sunshine. It did rain overnight, so we got a good soaking, and that's good. A lot of the plants needed it. However, that in turn, that weather forecast had kind of put some heat on. I did a pile of work on Monday, and then got a little bit more done during a dry spot on Tuesday. Worked like a dog on Sunday as well, so it's been 3 days of hard work trying to get this system to the point where I can start putting plants in. Denny the Rooster says good morning and wishes to sing the song of his people for you. You'll have to listen to, he's going to compete with me the whole time, but I didn't feel good about leaving him locked up just because I was doing a video. So here we are. So let's take a quick look at the system as it is now, and hopefully I'll have some good, hopefully this will look cool. There we go. So there it is. Probably looks similar to those folks who were here last year, except you'll notice that the outside green pipe is over there instead of over here. The green pipe originally was my test pilot. That was the one I used to basically prove that this thing would work at all. And then as I had money, I added the other 4 pipes. That was great, but it meant that really, you know, one of my primary pieces of production was way far away. So that one is, I'll show you from the other side. I'm going to go around. We'll talk about water return here in a moment. So right now I don't have this one here plumbed in. You can see it from there. But yeah, right now there's nothing hooked up at the end, as you can see. But the idea is, if I back up, oops, I'm going to be planting runner beans and cucumbers and stuff like that. That's going to go down, and I'm going to use that for partial shade over the front of the tank. So that's what that piece of pipe is for. It may actually move forward in line with the other tees, just to give, basically so that more of the pipe is providing shade. If I'm going to do that though, I will need to add a, probably a little support spar in there. That's not hard to do. That's just a 2x3 and some wood screws. So this is what it looks like from the outside. Getting set up. Whoops, one sec. There we are. I'm getting set up now to put the media bed. There's going to be those 2 buckets, barrels, are going to get cut in half lengthwise, and then hooked together. So there'll be a pair of them there and a pair of them there, and those will be plumbed in from the water coming off of that media bed. And then the water will flow to here, then to here, and then this is going to be a floating raft bed. So you can see I've already got a tank fitting put through, and then of course naturally water's going to come out of here straight through and back into the sump tank. And you can see the rate of return here is okay. It's not as swift as it was before, and that is because of a size problem. Essentially, so I don't know if you can see it, but if I crouch down, the pump is down in there. You can just see it at the end of the white piece of pipe. Well, that's 6 feet. That's actually almost a full 2 meters by the time you get up to that T right there. And that is too much lift for that pump. So what's happening is, so the water's coming up this pipe, hits this T, and then of course this valve is open, this one's closed. This valve is going to be the pipe that takes water out to the grow bed, and this loop out here. And this pipe is what's running, that valve is what's running the manifold made of this flex hose that fills all of these pipes. The problem is, as I say, is that I'm going to work at Imperial right now because that's what all the numbers are written down as. Unfortunately, even because most of the pumps are sourced out of the USA, everything shows up in gallons. So that's supposed to be a 450 gallon per hour pump, which means it's just barely bigger than what I need. The catch is that for every foot or so of head, you lose anywhere between 50 and 100 gallons per hour of pressure, depending on the construction of the pipe. So by the time I get up to this piece of pipe, I'm maybe pushing 50 gallons per hour. Well, that's great, except that down this end of the tank, well, that's 275 gallons. Now again, just multiply numbers by 4 roughly for the imperial to metric conversion. So that's, that's a 1,200 liter tank. And I'm at best pushing 200 liters per hour, which means it takes 6 hours to roll the tank, and that's way too slow. It was, the reason I didn't have this problem last year was because the sump was sitting above ground, and so I was almost half a meter higher up than before, and so that difference in height has led to this problem where now that pump is not powerful enough to get the job done. The good news is I sort of saw this coming and ordered a replacement pump. It's supposed to be showing up today, and it's 1,000 gallons. I think it's 1,000 gallons per hour. So even losing half that to head, I'm still going to be running faster than that pump does sitting at floor level. So that's the idea. So I'll be installing that when it arrives today, if the weather holds up. So that's the system as it is. Because, oh yeah, just a little change here. I'll show you this. So, see the water coming out of there. This year are not running as flood and drain pipes. I'm running them as constant flow. I'll show you what that looks like. Let's pop the top off one of these. There. You look inside, so the pipe is constantly filled with about 2 inches or 5 centimeters worth of water. That's what it looks like in the pipes. Right? They're all set up that way. And the reason is because the net cups are about 2 centimeters or 1 inch deeper than that. So that means the bottom of the cup will be constantly in water. And there's constantly going to be a flow of water out of the system, down into the tank. So water's constantly moving. And that's the idea. So I'm going to run these, like I say, as constant height pipes this year, just for simple. Running these as individual flood and drain systems caused a bunch of problems, and it's actually nothing more complicated than, it's not that flood and drain doesn't work. It does. It works just fine. The problem is that you need a specific rate of flow coming into each pipe for it to drown reliably. And I was fighting just as the plants grew, more roots moved in, as the pump got tired, as I added more pipes, I just kept dividing the amount of water more and more and more and slowing that rate of flow down to the point where I just couldn't get enough, couldn't consistently get enough water through all of the pipes to routinely trigger the siphon, and most of the time they were in fact just running as level drains, and it grew just fine. So I figured this year, just for simple, you know, KISS principle, keep it simple, silly. I'm gonna keep everything easy. There will be at least one siphon in the system, which is over. Hang on a sec here. That's not where I'm at. What are you doing, you silly? Why would you put that button there? Can we just go back to the screen I was at? Thanks. No, I can't. Okay. There we go. I want that button. Thank you. iPhone, it's great, except that when you're doing a Facebook Live, all the buttons are really bloody close together, so it's way too easy to touch something you don't want. Anyway, what I was saying was, this stand here, as I said, is going to be for a filled media bed, and then beyond it, the cinder blocks are going to be where that barrel is. There's two barrels back there. They're each going to be cut in half, as I said. Cut in half lengthwise, hooked together lengthwise. And that's essentially going to be a Dutch bucket system. One sec here. There we go. For my tomatoes. Learn my lesson. You need lots of volume for tomatoes because of root growth. That's why people use Dutch bucket systems. So I'm going to be doing a hybridized Dutch bucket. It's a media trough where the individual plants are sitting in buckets in the trough. And the idea is that should allow me to do maintenance much more easily. It should also make it easier to, contain the plants, slow down a bunch of little problems. We'll see how it actually works. But the idea is that water coming in from the, so water coming off the fish tank, off the fish tank, where I showed you the splitter earlier, there's those two valves. So the outside valve is going to be the one that ships water off the pump towards the media bed. That media bed will run as a flood and drain using a standard siphon, a U siphon, I think. And then the idea is that surge of water will be what drives water through the rest of the system. Sorry, my allergies are bugging me today. So the surge of water coming off the media bed will then push water through the hybrid Dutch bucket system, and then pass that into the floating raft bed to keep basically pulsing water through the system. And the idea is that should help with oxygenization, and the places where I have hydrogen in the system, that will let that hydrogen also act as more biological reserve for beneficial bacteria in the system. So I'm trying to get some double duty out of part of the system here. There's no way for the fish water to go directly out to the media beds. That ought to keep silting down to a minimum there. But the water will still be probably fairly nitrite rich, and so using the clay pellets as more bioreserve beyond what the bioreactor itself provides, I think is just a good idea. I think we're going to do a quick chicken tour. I think that's the next thing to do, go say hi to the chickens, and then possibly wrap it up. We'll see. So over here, Sweetheart got some Mother of Thyme. We're actually going to fill this wicking bed with it, with the idea then we're going to be transplanting hunks of it out as it spreads out over various spots of the lawn. Blueberry bushes are looking okay. We're going to have blueberries here, I think. Haven't decided what we're doing with this bed yet. Right now I'm using it as a workbench more than anything else. Same thing here. The reason these buckets are sitting here was actually to figure out, this is sort of what I'm thinking about for the hybrid bucket system, right? So the plants themselves will go into the buckets will have hydrogen, and then I'm going to fill around it with gravel. That's what I'm going to be doing with those barrels. And I think Chris had got herself a grape that's going to go climb that, I think is the plan for the grapes. You can see here, this is a butterfly and bee garden that's been planted. We're just going to be, basically got it out of the bags from the shop we ordered from, and just waiting on stuff to, basically waiting on a good day to plant. This is a variety of different things. Some trees that we got. I can't remember what these are. Anyway, it's a mixture of various things. It's going to be the foundation for our, the food forest that Chris wants to build. Over here we've got a bunch of very good looking strawberries. They're in full bloom. We do have a little bit of weeding to do, but we're not too stressed about weeds right now. The weeds are what's feeding the bees. We want to get the bees used to coming this way. Got some hops planted here. That's quite nice. And Doug's got a pretty healthy looking garlic garden going here. So planted it, and then we just basically piled a lot of hay on top of it to protect it over the winter, and it worked out well. Oops, kickstand works. Let me just, there we go. And Jean-Michel and Daniel got the lawn mowed and all of the grass blown in here. So that's basically free chicken feed. Danny just went in the chicken coop, so that's the reason you suddenly can't find any chickens. They're all inside looking for breakfast. But here's one of the, and here's Denny. Hey Denny, how you doing? Come say hi to your adoring public. Oh yes, you're a very large rooster and you can pick up a pebble. Thank you for showing us. So like I say, he's a good rooster. A couple more of the girls over here underneath the coop. They can go underneath, that's for shade and protection. And you can see we've got, that's a Siberian pea shrub, that's a frankenapple. I think that is a Honeycrisp over there. So that's all coming along quite well. We've got turkeys arriving, I think, soon. I gotta double check on that. Expecting to hear about that anytime soon. That'll be the next thing. And this is a dwarf cherry tree over here. So we've got that. I think that's supposed to be a blueberry, and it's just not lighting up. And this is another dwarf cherry. It's doing pretty well. We've got a bit of a swampy spot over there, so we got a couple of those are tamaracks. So yeah. So that's the backyard. Things are growing. Got a lot of work to do, but that's okay. That's part of when you're doing your own homestead. Even in a limited homestead, there's always work to do. It's not quite farming. You know, I don't have a dairy barn to worry about, but we do have chickens. But my grandfather was a farmer, and I remember for him, when we go up to the farm for haying season at the end of August, beginning of September, my dad and all the other brothers would head home to give their father a hand with the haying season. And you know, I mean, I was a kid and got the new place, so I'd be up at the dawn every morning and out tearing out. My grandmother would already be in the kitchen and making breakfast, and my grandfather would already be out in the barn working with the animals. I mean, you know, talking 6 o'clock in the morning. My grandma was making breakfast, and my grandfather was already out in the barn. So, and you work until it's and he worked until it was dark. You know, to go look at over here. Let's take a couple more last things. 1 second here. So these are my Ascap bushes. They're doing okay. This is comfrey, so that's nice. We're growing the comfrey as a chop and drop plant, basically using it as a mineral mine. Lots of blooms on the Ascaps, which make me happy. I planted 2 new ones, and they don't seem to have taken off. I think transplant shock got them, which is unfortunate. There's another one that went in here, and I think that one got eaten. But the older plants seem to be doing okay. This area here that's all mulched in, that's where some of the fruit trees that I showed you out in the back are going to go. So that's what the idea is. We're going to slowly take this space here, and this is going to be the genesis of the food forest, if you will. And this is the highway right off the front door. Well, not the front door. We got a hell of a driveway. I'll take you, show you what it looks like. Almost coffee time. So this is the view from the mailbox. Good old-fashioned. So that's the driveway from the mailbox, right? So yeah, it's quite a property. So anyway, that's the show so far. Time to head in, call it a day, get to work, start to do some job hunting. Things aren't going well on the consulting front, so I think after 10 years of pushing that rock up a hill, I'm just going to call it done. So somebody I know has reached out to me, said he may have a couple of opportunities. So a couple of people I know have reached out to me, said they may have a couple of opportunities. Remote worker for someone who's got a consulting background. So that's, I think, what I'll be spending my morning doing, is dusting off the resume. Anywho, folks, thanks for joining me. Appreciate you coming along on a sunny morning. Sorry about the glare. So that is the Aquaponics and Yard update. Next thing that's going to be happening is we do have a bunch of plants that are going to get out of their soil and into net pots and into the system. And then on Saturday I'll do my first water test, and I'll publish that. Let everybody see what the chemistry is looking like. Jaeger, my test pilot goldfish, is doing just fine. He's swimming around the sump tank quite contentedly, munching on wayward mosquitoes. So he's quite content. Not seeing any evidence of water chemistry issues for him anyway. So that's good. Still trying to find a source for trout. I really don't want to have to try and run this system on a bunch of goldfish. That's just going to be such a drag. I think that's it. Alrighty, folks, take care. Have fun. I hope whatever you're doing is going well. Hope your gardens are growing, and I hope things are going well in your personal lives. Take care of yourselves. Have fun. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.